I'm not dating right now, but if there's a man out there and he's interested in me, if you are nonchalant, get the fuck away from me! Stay the fuck away from me. Go date your friends if you want to act like we're homies.
Welcome to The Wall. Today, we will watch a painful video of a mother revealing to her son through a DNA test that the child he thought was his isn't actually his. We will also discuss how unfair the child support system can be for men and how some women use it to finance their lives. We invite you to smash that like button, support the movement, and subscribe to the channel. That's the only contribution we ask from you, man. Add your 2 cents to the movement, share your experience in the comments for any man who needs it. And without further introduction, let's get started.
Yes, you will, because you know what? No. You're going to stay with her, right? You're going to stay with her? Right here. Yes, I am. I'm here. Well, what?
No. I will?
What, for telling the truth? You done lost your whole mind. Oh, mind. Listen,
ain't no mama gonna do
it's
this.
okay.
Ain't
You
no
don't think
mama
I'm
gonna
disappointed?
take that
You don't think I'm
Ain't no
disappointed that that ain't my grandchild? You don't think I'm disappointed that you picked that and I've been up here giving up my money and my time? I have things I could have been doing.
You never right from day. Just admit that.
Anybody but that. Anybody but her. Yes, no, I didn't like her.
Everything
No.
else on other things, and
Oh,
you talk
I
about
see.
accountability, but you can't sit here and talk about the real reason why you never wanted
So,
me to be with.
it's my fault.
Sasha has nothing to do with this. Everything that you've been doing lately is because of your vendetta with Sasha. That has nothing to do with the truth.
I see. So what I did was I made sure that baby has nothing in common with you or me. I'm the reason why it's a big 0 on that piece of paper. Is that what you're trying to say? I'm the one who put my, Lord Jesus, hold. Oh, Lord, let me hold my peace. Boy, listen. Grow up and be a man. Face the facts. And just go ahead and move on. Move on with your life, boy. Move on. That is not your child. That is not my grandchild. The $10,000, keep it. Keep it.
Responsibility as a man. You wouldn't know what a man is anyways, because as soon as I was born, what did Pops do? He left. He left you and he left me. So
Boy.
how would you know what a good man is?
Oh, Lord Jesus. I know you ain't going there. Let me tell you something. Your daddy was, yes, he was. He was. Yes, he was. Yes, and you know what? You know what? And sometimes the apple don't fall that far from the tree. You understand me? No, so listen to me. You know what? Take it from my side of the family. Do what you got to do. Face the fact and just move on. You know what? So being mad at me, be mad. That's what you need to do. No. Look. You need to ask her. Oh, I'm just her. That's the question. You all up in my face. Getting in the face of your so-called woman. She's not even a woman. A woman is somebody you can trust. A woman, when you do a DNA test, it'll be in the 99s, baby, not in the zeros. No, you can't trust me, but you know who you really can't trust? That.
I don't think this is real. I can't trust nothing about you.
Okay.
I'm going home.
Okay. Do that.
And I'm meaning, mama. Okay. After today, do not contact me no more.
Boy,
I don't want to hear from you. I don't want nothing to do with you no more. And that's on everything. That's on God.
Well, you know what? You go ahead. Go ahead. Leave. But on your way out, pick up some because you need them.
This is painful. This man, perhaps due to the impact of this news, is saying these things. When his mind is calmer, he might think better about it. But I also see an emotional reaction. This is a man raised by a single mother. These men always tend to be very emotional. A more masculine man would be angrier with the woman who hurt him than with his mother. This man is angry because his beautiful bubble was burst, or simply because he loves that girl. Seeing his anger towards his mother, it seems to me that this is the kind of man who was told at some point that the girl wasn't his or that she didn't look like him. But as they grow to love the children, they don't want to know the truth. The mother, seeing that this is her son, doesn't like the idea of him being used as a fool. That's why she says that woman is not good. Apparently, the mother doesn't get along with the wife and knew she wasn't good for him. Believe me, a mother always knows. She saw that grandchild in an unemotional way and knew he wasn't her son's. His DNA doesn't run through their lineage. She is right. He has to face the situation like a man now. It doesn't make you an enemy of the person watching your back and saving you from future pain, because the real father might show up tomorrow, or the woman might tell him when the girl is a teenager. Sometimes it's better, even if it hurts, to cure the disease early than to live with a permanent pain over time. Now I want you to leave in the comments what you think about this. Is the mother right? Or should she not have gotten involved?
How the fuck is it that men can have their wages garnished, lose their license, and even go to jail for not paying child support, and yet there is zero accountability from the women to show proof that that money is actually being spent on the children?
I agree with everything that she's saying in this post, and the interesting part about it is that if a man ends up in jail and losing his job because he's in jail over paying child support, then all the women crying about the little amount of pennies that they get in child support goes from pennies to literally nothing. And is that better for the child? But additionally, I do agree that child support needs to be on some kind of debit card, or there has to be some kind of form or proof of where the money is going and that it's actually being spent on the child. Because there are plenty of women out there that get loads of child support and have nothing to show for it. A lot of women are overspenders and financial abusers and abuse the dad through the children. A lot of these women, you have to remember, are getting a lot of child support. They might be on government assistance. They're getting help from their parents. They're not claiming income. They're making a lot more than they say they are. And they're financial abusers, which is why I wholeheartedly believe that there needs to be more proof as to where this money is going. Okay, bye.
Absolutely. There are even women who are gold diggers, just waiting to find a well-off man to get pregnant by, just to live off child support from these men. They always claim that the money is for the child. Some men pay up to $2,000, and if they are athletes or earn over $200,000 a year, they take between $5,000 and $10,000 for a child. Do you really think a child consumes that much every month? There are men who pay more in child support each year than their ex-wife makes working. This country is so unfair that even if the father keeps the children, the women don't pay child support. And when you try to enforce it, they always find a legal loophole to get out of it. There are men who, just for owing $20,000 in back support, are hunted down and sent to jail. But there are women who owe the father almost double and nothing happens to them. If you doubt it, look at the following case from the voice of a family lawyer to see how unfair this system is.
This is another child support horror story. Mom and dad get divorced. They have a child, a little girl. She's about 10 or 11 at the time they get divorced. Dad agrees to pay for all extracurricular activities for the little girl. I don't know why he did that, but he did. Didn't have any limitations on it, just said Dad will pay for all extracurricular activities. Well, Mom gets remarried, and she marries a neurosurgeon, and the neurosurgeon's making about $500,000 a year. And he takes a liking to the little girl, and he actually likes horses. So he starts getting the little girl into horses, and the little girl begins to take riding lessons, private riding lessons, an extracurricular activity to the tune of about $25,000 to $30,000 a year. So Mom immediately demands that Dad pay that. After all, he agreed to pay extracurricular activities. Dad can't pay it. He's making about $60,000 a year. He can't afford that. So Mom takes him back to court for contempt. Well, guess what the judge did?
I will give a piece of advice to all men, young or old. This applies to almost all general matters. When you have problems or are about to make legal decisions like this, analyze your situation thoroughly and get advice from your lawyer, because this was a fatal decision. If you want, ask artificial intelligence about potential future problems and have it outline the worst-case scenarios, because this man is currently in the worst possible scenario. And as I said, this system is unfair to men. Let's watch the second part.
So Mom's demanding that Dad pay for these extracurricular activities, the horse riding lessons, private for $30,000. He can't do it, doesn't make the money. So she takes him back to court. Well, the judge, here's the evidence, here's the case, and the judge does the right thing. The judge says, look, in every single contract, which in essence a parenting plan is, there's a certain understanding that it's reasonable. It's got to be reasonable. There's some reasonable basis for it. This is unreasonable. These do not constitute reasonable extracurricular activity expenses. So what the judge did is he said, Dad only has to pay for a portion of that. And I think it was like $5,000. The point being is don't ever, if you're a person going through a divorce and entering into a parenting plan, agree to pay anything without restrictions. There need to be restrictions placed on all extracurricular activities to say agreed upon and reasonable expenses.
I completely agree with him, because you shouldn't put yourself in a situation where you can get screwed tomorrow. That's what this man did. One thing I recognize about women is that they have immense creativity when it comes to screwing over men when they want to, and they often get away with it. That's why I've always said, when your wife mentions the word divorce, don't take it lightly. Don't wait weeks or months. Immediately seek out the best lawyer possible. Write to your family and prepare for the worst. If the situation was just a warning, at least you have your contingency plan, because women always have a contingency plan. I've been saying that in most divorces, when the woman asks for it, she's already prepared to attack. That's why you see many men ruined, because they didn't have time to prepare their contingency plan. I know it's a painful moment, but a masculine man cannot act emotionally. He has to be pragmatic, control his emotions, and take care of himself. You can't collapse, because the moment you do, you've already lost. Above all, trust your lawyer. If your lawyer recommends certain clauses, it's because they know what's coming in the future, because they all have the same modus operandi. Don't be stupid. It's like the DNA test. Don't think, that won't happen to me. Because every man who has been a victim of paternity fraud, guess what? Thought it would never happen to them.
It's funny because it's true.
Okay. So, a lot of you that have been here might know what I'm talking about, but I'm gonna give a little reference before I just jump into the update. I took a 23andMe test back in April of 2022. Results came back weird. I came back like white, super white, and my dad is half Mexican. The dad that my mom is still married to and was married to for a few years prior to my conception. That's an important detail. Left some room for doubt because I didn't recognize a single match. Not last name, nothing. Dropped a screenshot of my whiteness level in the family group chat and nothing. So, weird, okay? Fast forward to November of 2022. I get an email that I have a new match. I click it and it's my first cousin on my mom's side. So I'm like, well, it's definitely my DNA. And so at this point, I'm like, I have a couple options. I can talk to my mom, who I don't have a super solid relationship with. She has really bad drinking problems that started when I was like a preteen, and it's just degraded our relationship. So, or I can take another one. So I take Ancestry. Larger database was recommended to me by some family members. And so I take that. That comes back. I took that January, came back end of February. Still white as you can get. You think of the whitest countries in America, and I'm made up of those. So I'm like, my dad's not my dad. Like, there's no way. My brother is definitely my dad. Looks just like him. But I've joked my whole life, I look like neither of my parents. I must be the mailman's kid. So yeah. That's what I've been dealing with. And it's kind of a mental fuck a little bit, because on one hand, it feels like it doesn't change anything. I'm almost 32 and the man who raised me is still my dad, but on the other hand, it feels so different because half of who I am made up of, I didn't know until I was 31 years old. So yeah, if you or someone you know has experienced this and you have advice, I will take any and everything.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
The mother will surely come up with a cheap excuse, claiming she didn't know what she was doing, that her youth was a very confusing time, and that she deserves forgiveness because it happened a long time ago. You know what she'll do? Sweep it under the rug, because responsibility is kryptonite for women. They don't like to deal with the messes they create. Then you see kids growing up depressed, with doubts about one of their parents, because I've heard this horrible phrase from single mothers: a man isn't who fathers a child, but who raises them. That's a total fallacy. A man is the one who plants the seed. Many women have a Chad they were once in love with, a man who brings nothing to the table except his seed. These are the men they really want their children from. When they get pregnant, most know this man won't be a good father. They just want him for his genes and the emotional value he gives them. Then they go after the beta provider, the one who can offer economic security, and they tell him the child is his. But genes don't lie. And there are children who are too refined to be the sons of some men. That's why I say if the child has to resemble me, it should be in the blood. Mandatory DNA tests.
Boy math is them verbally telling you something that they were going to do for you or get for you and then never get it. But in their mind, they told you. So it's almost like they did it, but then you're still waiting for it and it's never gotten done. And you're just like, what the?
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we will see the story of a woman who discovers how she was deceived for 32 years by her mother, who hid the secret that she was not the daughter of the man she thought was her father. How did this woman find out about her mother's painful deceit? We want to invite you to smash that like button. Let's support the movement. Subscribe to the channel. That's the only contribution we ask of you, man. Add your grain of sand to the movement. Share your experience in the comments for any man who needs it. And without further introduction, let's get started.
This fucking text message right here changed my life forever. About a year ago now, January 9th, I get a text message telling me to get a DNA test from Ancestry. And I think it's fake. I FaceTime my friend and I'm like, listen to this. And she's like, I swear my gut's telling me this is real. You need to respond. So I respond. And then they write me back. I was shook that they responded. And I let them know that I'd already done 23andMe the year before because it was on sale. And I was hoping I was going to find that I was like secretly exotic or related to royalty, but I'm just English and Irish like I thought I was. They even made a burner account on Facebook to message me and my husband saying I need to get a DNA test from Ancestry. They would not provide me with any sort of proof that this was real. And obviously I called my mom immediately saying, what the fuck? So a little backstory, my parents divorced when I was 9. I was very close with my mom and she always told me the story that like she was an alcoholic and my dad cheated. My dad was a cheater. So when I called her and she says, I know exactly what you're talking about. I had an affair. I almost fell off my fucking chair. She had an affair with a guy 10 years younger than her when she was in college. They went away for like a weekend or something and it was a one-time thing, but he even saw her on campus and said, is that mine? And she denied it. This bitch either gaslit herself or thought she was going to take this shit to her grave. Imagine? So I order an Ancestry test immediately. It takes about 6 weeks to get my results back and ding, ding, your results are in. I find out that yes, this man is my father, this stranger. So I message him immediately, and he lives in California. He's British. What the fuck? He said my mom sent him a Christmas card when I was 2 years old saying my name in it, and that he's Googled my name ever since. And in 2007, my name popped up, and he saw a picture of me, and he knew immediately that I was his daughter. So he emails my mom wanting to get in contact with me. And she denies it and kind of threatens him and says, please do leave us alone. Do not ever contact me again. She's mentally unwell and something bad would happen. She might harm herself if she ever finds out. So what did he do? He followed me on social media my entire life. He watched me date my boyfriend, get married, have babies, everything, all from the outside, not able to know me. I'm telling you, this picture freaked me the fuck out. I have so much more. Let me know if you want a part 2.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no.
As I always say, responsibility is kryptonite for women. A partying woman is not wife material. Almost always, when we see a woman who has pinned a child on a man, it's because that woman was into some kind of vice or led a wild life in her youth. But instead of taking responsibility for their actions, they prefer to sweep it under the rug and continue their life as if nothing happened. But the devil has 2 sheets, one to deceive and another to cover up. But here in this story, as we see, we have 3 people who were victims of a woman's irresponsibility. The biological father who couldn't be a father to his daughter had to watch from the shadows as she grew up. Can you imagine how painful that is? This woman lost the opportunity to share with her real father and have quality moments with him in her childhood. And the father or stepfather who finds out after 32 years that the one he thought was his princess is not his daughter. This is the most devastated victim in this whole equation. It would have been so easy for that woman to take responsibility. And the biological father did not want to disappear from the equation, as some feminists might say. It was the mother who didn't want him to take responsibility so as not to ruin her marriage and to avoid being seen as the unfaithful woman who got pregnant from a one-night stand. But let's see the second part.
So 2007, right? He contacts my mom and she tells him to leave us alone and never contact us again. The following year, I moved to California. That's where I went to beauty school. He was actually living in Southern California at the same exact time. And he was able to see where I worked and where I went to school because, again, he followed me on social media. Which, like, I could throw up at. Like, to think of what he saw. Like, was it Facebook? Was it MySpace? Like, I hope to fucking God it was not my Tumblr. Like, he drove past my work once. He even called, I guess, to hear my voice. He asked what time we closed or something. He was even going to come in for a haircut, but his wife talked him out of it. She was convinced that I would recognize him, but I swear I wouldn't have because never did I ever in a million years suspect this. I have two older sisters from my mom's first marriage who would say that my dad loved me more than them because I was his biological daughter. So growing up, it wasn't really weird that I didn't look much like anybody because my two sisters are from my mom's first marriage. And if anybody ever commented on like my eyebrows or like my nose, my mom would say it was all from her. Or she would bank on the fact that the man who raised me, his whole family was dead. So she said I must look like somebody on his side. What else can I tell you? Oh, that I have two little sisters? I say little, like one of them's 2 years older than my son. If he was going to have a boy, he was going to name his son my son's name. And for both of his daughters' names, he had my daughter's name on both of their lists. And both of his daughters' names were on my list for a baby girl. He's a marine biologist. And before I decided to go to beauty school, I toured a school for marine biology. So from 2007 on, he did nothing but watch me through social media go throughout my life. Nothing happened until January this year when I got that message on Facebook. Maybe you're wondering who sent this text message. Well, that's a whole nother story because it was actually, I think, his brother's son who has a similar story to me, like found out later in life that man was his biological father and didn't want me to go through that. I mean, too late, but I guess he just wanted me to know the truth. So unfortunately, this did sever my family and it did destroy the relationship between me and my mom. There's a lot more that goes into this, but you can imagine that a secret of this magnitude requires a lot of lying and betrayal and manipulation to keep it up for this long. Cutting my mom off is one of the hardest things I've ever done. Never would I have ever expected it. We were like this growing up. I used to tell people she was my soulmate. And yes, I actually did meet him. I got back 2 weeks ago from California, so I'll do a separate video on that if you want.
The mother is the embodiment of the favorite word in all divorce stories, a narcissist. This woman had the perfect cocktail to build her entire lie. She had 2 daughters from a previous marriage, so the new child wouldn't look like the older sisters. She finds a beta provider who has no siblings or living relatives, the best possible candidate to pin another man's sin on, or the son of Chad. Because when you are alone, you only think about the happiness of having children. 2, you have no family, so of course, you will get attached to having a child and starting your family. And that's why I say the mother is a narcissist. It's fine that she cuts ties with her mother because it's not like she repented and wanted to talk to her daughter. She was going to die with this information. There was no attempt to confess. She just wanted to take the secret to her grave. And let me tell you something, genes don't lie. The girl had hobbies and interests similar to those of her biological father. But put yourself in the biological father's place. He followed her on social media, knew where she was, how she was growing up. Everyone will see it in their own way, but paternal instinct cannot be turned off overnight. This man wanted to be a father. He wanted to be in his daughter's life. That's why he tried to contact the mother, but she kept rejecting him. He is probably a man of values who did not show up to talk to the stepfather to avoid causing harm. Because another man, I would say myself too, would have shown up to claim my child. I want to know what you would have done. I'll read your comments. Let's see part 3.
Let me begin by apologizing for my stupid use of the word exotic in my last video. I did not mean it in a bad way, but people in my comments kind of educated me, and I will not be using it like that again. Also, my mom was not 18 dating an 8-year-old in college. She went back to school for teaching. She was 35, he was 25. Still a crazy gap, but it was like a one-time thing, drunk, but whatever. So we were talking by email for a couple months, and he was like, do you want to meet? And initially he had recommended that we like meet up with our families, but I was like, I think we should meet like you and me first. Coming from a broken family, there's like this hole inside of me, I guess, like was hoping that he was going to fix me. And I really tried to go into it with like an open-minded, low expectations, but I am me. So I imagined how I would greet like my long lost child of like, you are so beautiful. Let me look at your face. And he was not like that. I felt sort of insecure, and there was not a lot of eye contact. I felt like he was not interested in what I had to say. I felt like I was stupid. I felt like he didn't like me. I'm sure he'd be horrified if I heard that, but that's just the truth. I mean, I'm a very warm, talkative, funny, goofy person, and he is not like that. So it could just be who he is. He could even be just trying to respect me as an adult, but our interactions left me feeling very confused and very invalidated. I was there for like 5 days. We met up like once or twice a day to like hang out, go out to eat or something, and every time I felt like I was prying information out of him, and I just felt like he didn't like me. I was A-okay until the last day, and then I got very emotional because I guess I was just hoping by the last day it would be different. And when it wasn't, it was just hard. And we even went to his house for dinner that night, and I'm walking around his house, and it's like the pictures of him on the wall, it's like looking at pictures of me. He looks exactly like me. It was so weird. Also, watching him interact with his other daughters was painful. Like, of course, I'm not stupid. He's going to act completely different around them than with me. But I guess after a week of feeling like invalidated and like he didn't like me, and then watching him around his daughters, it was so hard. I went in the bathroom and cried. So here I am back in New York, and yeah, I hope that our relationship continues to get better, but
What can I say about this? I really don't think it's an easy process, especially connecting with an adult child. But I want you to notice something. Her mother wasn't a foolish teenager who made a one-night mistake. She was a woman in her 30s who was back in school, and it seems that one night she went to a college party and met this 25-year-old man, collagen. She wanted to do something physical, if you understand what I mean. I can assure you she was married, and yet she still did it, because that's how they are. That's why I don't believe in forgiving infidelity, because she does it consciously. That's why I say DNA tests should be mandatory, so that 20 years later you don't find out that your kids aren't yours and see how you raised another man's seed. This is even harder if it's your only child, and I'll say it again, the real victim here was her stepfather, who probably got involved with a single mother. Now he's paying for her broken lies. But this isn't mentioned by those in the purple hair movement when they say that 25% of men raise children that aren't theirs.
I just want to start by saying cutting my mom off was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. People used to say, like, what's your biggest fear? And like over myself dying, over spiders, over heights, I would say my mom dying 100%. Trying to imagine life without my mom was my biggest fear. So the fact that I have chosen to do this I would have never believed you if you told me that I did this. She moved to New York a couple years ago. And it was like the best thing that ever happened to me. I haven't lived near her since I graduated high school. And we were probably like unhealthily close because my parents divorced. I spent most of my time with her. And we were like this. She had gotten super sick for a period of time. Like I was her primary caretaker in high school. She had a back surgery that got staph. And it was just, I was the one that had to take care of her. So we were very, very close. So after she moved here, right before COVID started, I noticed how much she was not doing great. She went to rehab in like 1999, I think, and quit drinking, or so she said. I mean, she's a liar, so I don't know if I can believe anything she says. But my sisters and I have felt that after she got off alcohol, she turned to other vices. Like she's a shopaholic, like crazy. And also, she loves her some Xanax and Ambien. So I unfortunately had an ectopic pregnancy over Christmas during COVID. And I was in the hospital for like weeks because of it, on and off. And my husband had to stay home with our kids because there was nobody to watch our kids. And my mom, living here, could have helped us out, but she wasn't able to because she was lying to us the whole time. And she was actually like heavily abusing drugs. So Christmas Eve, 2020, I found out that I get to go home from the hospital and I don't have to have like a full surgery to remove the fetus from my stomach. So I find out I get to spend Christmas with my family. I'm on my way home, driving home from the hospital, and I get a call from my mom saying, I'm really sick. I need your help. I have a stomach virus. So of course I go straight to her, and I find out by stomach virus, she meant that she took a month's supply of her Xanax and Ambien in like a week and was withdrawing. So I get there and she's like pressuring me to buy drugs off the street and bother my husband's family and ask them if they can find drugs. She was threatening to kill herself, and I ended up calling 911 and they put her in a psych ward. So she's just put my sisters and I through a lot.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I repeat it again. A partying woman is not wife material. A single mother, especially an unstable one in this case, is not wife material. This was the nuclear bomb of news for this woman, but her mother had already been a disaster before, and she had even divorced her stepfather. These kinds of women never have a remedy. I don't blame her for cutting her mother out of her life, but you know what makes me laugh? There are people who think that just because she's the mother, she deserves a second chance. These are women in the comments, saying she made a small mistake, making herself the victim. Because they are all like this. Not necessarily in what this woman did, but in that they don't like taking responsibility for their actions. This woman doesn't deserve forgiveness, but those in the purple hair movement say to forgive her. That's why I say responsibility is kryptonite for women.
You're all going to come for me when I tell you this. But the honest to God truth is I haven't, spoken to him about it yet. Before you jump on me, he knows. When this all came about, I told my sisters, please don't tell him. I was waiting to get the results back before I had the conversation. But one of my sisters, whom I'm estranged with, immediately told him. So I don't know what his reaction was. I can only imagine he was just as devastated as me. But then there's also the fact, between him and I, not a lot changes. That's still my dad. I'm still his daughter. My kids are still his grandkids. He FaceTimes my son every day. My son's named after him. I have his signature on the back of my neck. That's my dad. I will, okay? I will. I'm just taking it at my own pace. I just feel like I have two dads now, which is a good thing. The more the merrier.
What? Oh my God!
That man may appear strong, but I assure you that inside he is devastated. Just because he doesn't show it in public doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Although we don't know if he knew, some men aren't foolish, and sometimes they know that those children aren't theirs. But knowing there is no father in the equation, they prefer to take responsibility. Let me know what you would do in the comments. Modern women love this, which is why there's a horrible saying that goes, a father is not the one who begets, but the one who raises. Brothers, a father is the one who plants the seed, whether you like it or not. Raising them, getting involved with a single mother, those children are not yours. A father is the one who plants the seed. There's another saying for a reason: blood is thicker than water. Do you think she has no interest in her biological father now? Do you think she doesn't want to know if one of her children will have a similar habit to her biological father? The DNA of that man runs through her bloodline, so don't be fooled. A father is the one who plants the seed. I feel sorry for that man. He is the victim of an unstable woman. But that's why I say, no matter how much you love your children, a hidden DNA test can solve many problems in the future. Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we will see several women complain about traditional wives, criticize how now divorce is worse than staying at home, and we will see how a woman tells us that this is oppression of women by men. We want to invite you to smash that like button. Let's support the movement. Subscribe to the channel. That's the only contribution we ask of you, man. Add your grain of sand to the movement. Leave us your experience in the comments for any man who needs it. And without further introduction, let's get started.
I used to be a trad wife, and now I'm a single mom. It all started back when I was a teen mom. I was 19 years old when I got pregnant. I was not married. When our daughter was like a week old, we just eloped at the courthouse and made it signed, sealed, and delivered. We were married. I was married to a military man, and my job was to be a wife and a mom. I wasn't supposed to have any time or any thoughts about doing anything other than being a wife and a mom. I love my kids very dearly, and I do not regret my decisions to have them. I do regret my decision to pick the partner that I picked to be their dad and to be my ex-husband. I had very low self-worth and self-esteem and thought that I was only good at being a wife and a mom because that's what I was shown growing up. It wasn't until we were teenagers that my mom ever started going to college. When she got married, she didn't have a college degree. She was in the military, and she did her 4 years in the Air Force, and my dad was a career military man, and my mom just married him and became a trad wife. And don't get me wrong, trad wife life comes with perks. I think it's best when you pick the right partner. I've seen a video talking about stitch this and tell me why marriage is hard. Marriage is only hard when you pick the wrong partner. My ex-husband would make fun of my weight. He would make fun of the little gap I have in between my two front teeth right here. Basically anything he could find to make fun of, he would make fun of it. But he would try to play it off as if it was just him being sarcastic and that we should make fun of each other. And don't get me wrong, I know there's couples out there like that, and that is the way they show their love, and I am...
Stop it. Get some help.
Have you ever noticed that there's not a single thing in this life, whether it's work, entrepreneurship, even health, where people don't fail? People can fail, or there are hundreds of people failing, but the majority recognize their mistakes and state the reasons why they failed, except for women in marriage. The story always starts with her being the victim, saying she had an abusive man, that her ex-husband was the bad guy, and it goes on to end the story by saying all the bad things about her ex-partner, while she was always perfect. But one thing you can notice that she says, it wasn't bad to be a trad wife, it was my bad choice of partner. She said she had low self-esteem and chose poorly. Because I'll tell you something, if being a traditional wife was so bad, then everyone would be upside down. Because for decades this was the center of society, the family. So why not just say, I ruined my marriage, I chose a Chad to marry, I didn't protect myself along the way, nor did I take measures. Not all traditional women are wrong because I failed, victimhood at its finest.
Not passing any judgment on how anybody else lives their life. I just know for me, coming from a house where we never did that, it really sent me into, like, I would say emotional distress. I wanted to laugh all of the things off, but deep down inside, I knew all of the jokes were true. and that he was basically just making fun of me our entire marriage. Of course, at the time, I probably didn't realize all of that until I was out of the marriage. I love my kids very, very, very much, and I do not regret my decision to have them. I love them so much. But picking the wrong partner did a number to me even post-divorce. I was tormented for years post-divorce. My ex was so controlling to the fact that he wanted to try to control my sex life after divorce. After many years of divorce, and he was already married and had a kid with his now wife, who was his wife back then also. Anyway, all of this to say is pick smart when you are picking the father of your children, the mother of your children, and you are picking a partner for life. Do not take that very lightly. That is one of the most important decisions you will make in your entire life. Next to what toppings you want for your Chipotle bowl. Also, it's very important to have the hard conversations in an early relationship and in an early marriage, that if your partner is doing something that makes you feel uncomfortable, that you bring it up and you have the guts to have the hard conversations. That is one thing I definitely messed up in my relationship, is that I let my husband at the time make all the decisions. I basically had no voice. I don't even know if I would have been able to speak up. Because after we were divorced, when the kids went to go live with him, because my kids went to go live with him and I paid him child support, I would say I had no say-so on how my kids were raised. I learned that very quickly, that my voice and my opinions on my girls did not matter, and that I should just fall in line with anything he says to do.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Here's the thing. You chose the wrong man to build your life with, because I agree that before you get married, you should take certain measures in case things don't go well, like a prenup for men. Also, if you don't want to stay at home, you can say so, because from what I heard, you only saw the bad when you left the relationship. When you were in it, he supported you entirely, and you didn't complain. Because here's the real problem. Many of them don't complain about the marriage and the benefits obtained while in the relationship. They complain after they ask for a divorce, because we all know that 80% of divorces are initiated by women. They complain that they don't have the benefits of being a wife outside of it. Why do you think many only regret it months after the divorce, or while they are getting divorced? At first, they do it with joy and an inflated ego, saying, "I'm leaving you." But like any service in this life, one day you have to get the bill, and after that, they understand everything the man had to solve for her to live in her bubble. Now that she has to maintain her bubble and is out of the marriage, now it's bad to be a traditional wife. Don't be one. Don't fail like I did. As I said, she only plays the victim because now she has to support herself.
The women that are telling you the trad wife life is amazing are the little 22-year-old, 24-year-old girls that just got in it themselves. I am literally just trying to be dead ass honest. Being a trad wife really fucking sucks. I did it for 10 years. I got married when I was 26. I thought I knew everything. Oh my gosh. It was the next phase of life. College was over. Everybody was moving on. Everybody else was getting engaged and getting married and getting jobs and moving away. And I had the majorest FOMO of my life. The guy that I had been dating for a couple of years was like, "Hey, do you want to marry me?" And I was like, I guess so. I remember calling like every woman in my family to be like, "Hey, how do you fucking know you're supposed to get married? Like, I don't know. What am I supposed to do?" And they were like, "Yeah, great, good job, congrats." You know, I was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm supposed to do. But it's not all that it's cracked up to be. Like, think of yourself when you're 10 years old, and then when you're 15 years old, you really grow and change as a person, then from 15 to 20. Well, when you get married at 25, at 35, you might be a different person. You know, just having children alone, the gravity of that sometimes really falls on you, and you see the world differently, and you do start to change some of the ideals and morals that you had. You're gonna see the world through a completely different lens. So when you give up all of your autonomy to this other person and then start bringing other people into the world, you may set yourself up to be in a real shitty spot.
And I'm saying that with 10 years experience and now 5 years removed from that experience. I've got 5 years to look back and say, man, I really fucked up. I should have stayed. And I gotta tell you, I only wish I left sooner. I only fucking wish I could have like healed faster, but fuck, I feel like I did a good job. So good luck.
We could have been a good couple. We could have had something special. But you one crazy ass bitch.
As I said, misery loves company. The first thing we see is that she said her partner proposed and that she had finished college. Second, before accepting, she asked the married women in her family. She didn't have her own judgment. Third, she didn't analyze her decision. As I've always said, women are emotional, and that's why they make bad emotional decisions. She never considered what kind of marriage she wanted. Now what I wonder is, if you had finished college and your partner, why didn't you go to work? Did he force you to stay at home? Or couldn't you decide? But also, if everything was going so badly, why in the process of those 10 years of marriage didn't you change your mind? You could have decided to enter the job market after 2 years, at least with a part-time job. But since it seems you don't have your own judgment to know what you want, you still didn't decide to change anything. Responsibility is kryptonite for women, because the women in her family are still married. Why didn't they tell her it was a bad idea? Because they have strong marriages and see it as something good. But she failed, didn't want to go to work, preferred to stay home for 10 years, and couldn't maintain her marriage. Now she criticizes what she chose to do in her youth. It's victimhood because she doesn't want to take responsibility and say she ruined her marriage. Now she complains about people who talk about having a healthy marriage. Misery loves company, but I want you to see what happens when the other side of the coin doesn't get married.
Snapping 1, 2, where are you?
When they decide not to get married and continue their careers, then they complain about ending up alone, bitter, and hitting the wall because the wall doesn't forgive. Now I ask you, do you see these women being happy? Aren't single women supposed to be the happiest? Because all I see are women seeking pity, posting sad messages online for attention. No matter how much these women say that being a traditional wife is bad or the worst thing that can happen to a woman, another person's marriage doesn't necessarily have to become yours. Today, only a minority in this country can afford to keep a woman at home with the opportunity to have their own roof, to watch their children grow. The majority have to work. There are options for women. They can work part-time, start a business from home, take care of other people's children, or simply take good care of their husbands. There are ways to make it work, but these women selfishly advise other women to ruin their relationships after their marriages fail, ending up like the women we see here, alone, bitter, and without a family. Because no matter how bad a marriage ends, many women are left with children, a house, and half of the man's money. We all know that divorce only benefits the woman, but they never mention that.
This cooking and cleaning thing isn't bad. Like, I just don't understand why women wanted to work.
Cut this shit out. You are working. This framing that there are women who work and there are women who don't work because men have gifted them the opportunity to stay home and cook and clean for them, you're both working. It is fine to want to stay home and do those things, but that is not a gift of no labor. You are both working, and when you're doing it exclusively in the home, you're working with no rights, no protection, no safety net. You're providing services that if you weren't around, that man would have to pay multiple professionals to get, because it's work, it's valuable work. But your job security in doing that is entirely contingent on that man deciding to keep you around. As your youth and your beauty, two things that are very protective of that job security, to a certain point, start to fade. Just because it feels fulfilling and free to not go to work every day does not mean you are free. All of the comments on this video are like, this is feminism. Making a choice of the life you want to live is feminism. No, feminism is collective liberation for all women. Feminism is women having the resources to not have to depend on men. Feminism is freedom from oppression, and freedom from oppression is having choices. Without money coming in that is yours, if that relationship ends, your job ends. You'll have no money, you'll have no resume, you'll have no references, no roof over your head, no unemployment check, you will have no choices but to find another man to support you. You need to make this man be paying you for the services you're providing as if you had a real job, so that if that marriage ends, you have something to fall back on. Say, if I forgo working outside of the home to stay home and take care of this family, I get this % of everything if we break up. If he says no to some type of agreement like that, then him allowing you to not work is not about letting you have the life that you've always dreamed of. It's about making you dependent on him and exploiting your labor. I'm rewatching Mad Men right now, and I just got to the point where Betty wants to divorce Don because he's been lying and cheating and gaslighting her. And she's been a homemaker for their 2 kids for 10 years. She's also been exploiting the labor of Black women to help her with that, but she has had no work and no money of her own. She goes to a lawyer and she's like, you know, what can I do? And he's like, you should stay married. You'll get no money. He'll probably get the kids because he has all of the resources, and she cannot leave that marriage until she has another man lined up that is willing to fully support her. And she was a rich woman. Her husband was worth millions of dollars, but none of it was hers. And that's the part that you don't see with all these trad wife light videos. It looks lovely and empowering and free to not be some loser feminist who has to go to work until their man changes their mind, or until you change your mind, like, oh my God. And then you will have nothing. He will have all the money you allowed him to make in his career, and he'll get everything he needs from the next woman in line itching to take your place because she was brainwashed by trad wife shit on the internet.
Fuck up, you crazy bitch!
The nonsense from these women in the Purple Hair Collective is that they talk as if choosing a career over marriage means they won't depend on anything. Because most of them don't end up rich. They just have a job to survive. Many even have to be someone's mistress to get by, and others may end up being the big boss but miserable. Why don't you want to depend on your husband, who makes a contract with you, where half of his assets could go to you in case of a divorce, but instead, you'd rather go for a labor contract where you also have to work to earn a pittance? You won't have a family, a husband, or children, and tomorrow you could be fired and replaced by a younger woman. And not only that, do you know how many women today have to work 2 jobs just to pay off student loans that keep increasing in debt and interest every year? Sometimes it takes up to 10 years to pay off that damn debt for a degree that often doesn't pay more than minimum wage. But of course, being with a man who says stay at home, I'll take care of the bills, I'll buy you a house, I'll pay for the furniture, I'll cover all the bills and maintenance, vacations, and everything you consume. You just take care of raising the children and maintaining the house. According to these feminists, that's the worst thing that could happen to a woman. That's why you now see more and more women fulfilling the dream of not depending on any man, because men no longer want to marry. And then you hear them complaining again because they're alone in their 30s, and men don't want marriage because you reap what you sow.
I overdosed. I remember feeling like so cold, and I was like scrolling through my phone on my couch trying to be like, who can I call? There was nobody. Blacked out for 2 days. I got my stomach pumped. Then when I woke up in a mental facility, and the first thing I did was like, get up, where the fuck? And I go to the doors. The 2 orderlies go, whoop. Walked me back in there, and then I was like, holy shit, I have to stay here. And so I had to convince the doctor I was okay. But then 6 months later, it happened to me again.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll see various women share their viewpoints on how to win a man's heart. We'll also see a woman giving advice on dating an older man, and another woman who paid for everything for this Chad, and when they broke up, he asked her for $13,000 for his services. We want to invite you to smash that like button. Let's support the movement. Subscribe to the channel. That's the only contribution we ask of you, man. Add your grain of sand to the movement. Leave us your experience in the comments for any man who might need it. Without further introduction, let's get started.
This is how you're literally gonna make grown men fall in love with you. Guys, I just know how they think, and you can use it to your advantage. Number one, grown men love younger girls because they feel like they are easy to manipulate. It's a known fact that women their age are very firm on their boundaries, they're very confident in themselves, probably gone through a divorce or two. Older men are obsessed with potential. They love a girl who works out, who is very well put together, who has the clean girl and kind of innocent girl look. They are simply attracted to how much life, how much potential you have. It's almost like they're a little bit jealous and they kind of want to like live vicariously through you. They also love a girl who has the things that they love about older women their age, but who doesn't have the things that they don't love. Meaning you have very classy style, feminine style. You have manners, you have taste, you're cultured, you're educated, but you're not bitter. You're not a wounded feminine who's upset at men. Don't have a lot of trauma from all of your past relationships. Use this however you want to. Before I found my amazing boyfriend, who I hope will be my husband one day, I was dating older guys in their 30s and 40s, and they just know how to treat women. So I'm for it all the way. Stay away from the manipulative ones.
Stop it. Get some help.
Remember, brothers, when a woman refers to the deal, she's talking about offering economic benefits. It's not just about giving gifts. These are men who pay bills, who can take them to expensive places, who have the financial power to provide experiences. That's why you'll always see young women dating older men, because they can access a life with them that a young man can't offer. But I'll tell you something. To every young man, don't get discouraged. The best stage of a man's life starts from 28 to 45, but this will only be for those who focus on their life path, improving their physique, their social skills, and above all, their finances. That's why we always recommend doing the work. Now, let me tell you that many women are looking for men over 30, especially when they're in their 20s. These women might already have a partner, but listen to the age range of the men they go out with. I don't see anything wrong with this. A man who does the work has the right to date a woman of the age he desires, because when you do the work, you have the right to choose. When you don't, you have to wait for someone to choose you. So, which side do you want to be on?
Men fall in love with your absence because of vasopressin, but it's not what you think. Vasopressin is not this like weird hormone that's released in men when you're not in their like 5-foot radius. The reason that vasopressin is released in men when you're absent is because vasopressin releases in men when they have to problem solve. When you are not at his beck and call, then he has to figure out how to get you. And this is the way men are wired. They're like bred to be conquerors. It's this whole like Roman Empire thing that they're obsessed with. When you're not handing over your commitment, your life, your body, your space on a silver platter, then he has to work for it. And think about it logically. If you were a teenage kid and you were going to get a car and you had to work all summer mowing lawns to save up money to buy a car, you would value that car a lot more than someone who just got a car from their parents. They didn't have to work for it, right? If he has to work for you, if he has to crack down your outer shell to get to the inside, he's going to value that prize more than someone who's just handing herself over to him. And it's not about playing games. It's about playing smart. It's about prioritizing yourself. When you love yourself, you naturally don't hand over your whole being to someone you barely know. Essentially a stranger. If you're on like 1 or 2 dates, that person is essentially a stranger. You do not know them. Think about somebody you love. So take yourself out of the equation. Think about your best friend. Would you advise her to jump 2 feet in with a guy she just met or that she's been on 1 or 2 dates with? No. You love her and you're like, you deserve literally the world, but minimally a guy who's going to make you a priority in his life.
Listen to this carefully. Anything that isn't a clear yes with a woman is a no. With women, there's no middle ground. If you see that this woman is playing the game of coming and going, wanting but not wanting, you discard her immediately because she will only put you in the friend zone or make you the guy who buys her meals. Remember, if it's not a yes, then it's a no. There's no middle ground here. It's true that love feels stronger in loneliness when you have that person far away, but that doesn't mean you should be like a Disney movie, trying over and over again for someone who's weighing their options and keeping you on hold as if you were some kind of paused video game, waiting to see if a better offer comes along. Learn to value yourself. A man who works on himself understands his worth and doesn't let any woman play him for a fool. They love playing hard to get. It's not that they're playing hard to get. They're just seeing what other options they have besides you. But let's continue.
You would advise her to hold out until he's proven he's worthy of being in her life. Now hold the same love and respect that you hold for your best friend for yourself. When you love yourself, you see the situation clearly. And here's what I see it as. Women are always the prize. No matter who you are, no matter what your situation is, women are sacred. Men, that was like the first try. That was like the beta test. Women are sacred. They are always the prize. So therefore, the man needs to pursue you. He needs to woo you. He needs to convince you that he deserves a place in your well-rounded life. And this naturally occurs when you live a well-rounded life. When you have hobbies, when you have a job you're passionate about, when you have friends that you care for. You're not going to just open all the doors to any man who wants to give you attention. Attention is cheap, you guys. Attention is so cheap. A man should have to prove himself to have a spot in your life. And when your life is well-rounded, that means you just naturally don't have a ton of time to be handing over to someone before he's proven that he deserves a spot in your life. And that's why the absence of a woman works wonders on a man, because then he has to hammer it in. Remember the Roman Empire thing, the conqueror thing. He has to win her over. If you're just playing games and you're pretending to be busy all the time, the energy is off. But when you're living a well-rounded life, you're that bitch, hot girl energy, like that's what's going to woo him. That's what sets you apart from other women. Loving yourself makes you magnetic, not just to men, to literally everything in life. Because when you love yourself, you realize you don't really need this man. And that's when he's like, I'm going to prove to her why she needs me. Like, that's the irony of it. It's like when you don't need him, that's when he's like, I need her. You guys are so funny.
I've always said genuine interest is non-negotiable. The more a woman likes you, the bigger the discount will be. Stop believing that Disney narrative of fighting for the princess. That princess will make the path easier for the man she truly likes. When she doesn't like you, she'll just use you. Many men have seen this. They keep inviting her to places, bringing gifts, giving everything for a woman who has never shown any sign that it will be something in the future. Then comes a Chad, a man who brings nothing to the table but his seed, and without saying or doing much, he goes with her, while you lost money and, most importantly, time, just to get some attention from the woman. Don't be the man in the friend zone. Remember, a Ferrari will always be worth more than a Toyota because anyone can have a Toyota, but only if you have a Ferrari. In this case, the woman is the Toyota. Every year, thousands come to the market at 21, more beautiful and brand new. But the Ferrari, whether new or old, remains exclusive in the market. Not everyone can have one. That's a high-value man. Why do you think women in their 30s fight for one if they are the prize? Why do you think young women want to go out with one if they are the prize? Why do you think these men go out with several women if they are supposedly the prize? Remember, value is not dictated by oneself. The market decides it.
This is all because my ex thinks I owe him $13,000. I'm going to tell you a little story and I want you to tell me if I'm right or wrong. So me and my ex dated for 2.5 years, and during that time that we dated, I had started my own business. So I started to make a bit of money from this business, and I had went from like not having any money to like finally having some sort of money. And so I was feeling like very generous, and I wanted to share my money and my success. And we lived in LA. I paid for our rent, I paid for our food, and he would literally like Uber Eats every single meal, but like my credit card was on the account. And I also started to buy him designer clothes, and for fun, I took him to Bora Bora and Greece. For fun. And on top of me paying for everything, I would give him like little jobs around the house for him to do, and I would pay him for it. I'd be like, hey, can you go like fix that light bulb and I'll pay you for it? Anyway, so after we had broken up, he came to me and he was like, hey, you owe me $13,000 because I think that's fair from our relationship. So let me know who's in the right and who's in the wrong.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Do you see why I say the more a woman likes a man, the bigger the discount will be? This is a man who brings nothing to the table but his seed, a classic Chad. She's thrilled to take him on trips, to buy everything for him. But even when the relationship with Chad ends, he charges for his services. So yes, pay him. Now, seriously, a woman who has genuine interest in a man will do everything for him. That's why it angers me when I see men being used as doormats, not treated with respect, not given affection, living a relationship more as a worker for the woman than as a husband. Because when a woman is truly in love, she gives everything for her man. That's why I tell men to always analyze what a woman does for them. If she never offers to pay for anything, if she doesn't do acts of service like helping you at home or doing something as simple as cooking a meal for you, if she never invites you out when she makes money, let me tell you that this woman is a bad sign. You don't generate many emotions in her for her to invest in you. If a woman doesn't invest in you, whether it's money, time, or her feminine energy, then she doesn't genuinely like you. It's a red flag. Remember, the queen must always seek to please her king. Drizzle, drizzle.
Let's talk about 6 ways to make a man fall in love with you. I'm telling you, if you guys master this shit, you're gonna have any guy you want. Number 1 is hygiene. This is so important. I cannot stress it enough. The first thing anybody notices about anyone is their hygiene, how they smell, how their breath smells. It matters. Shower, make sure your hair is clean, make sure your armpits have deodorant, make sure your breath smells good. I have like 10 videos on hygiene, so go look at them. You could legit be your man's dream girl, but if you smell bad, he's not going for you. I'm telling you. Number 2 is knowing your worth. Also, everyone always comments about the shade match. This is a Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter in the shade 4.5 medium. So in terms of knowing your worth, respect yourself, have standards, don't let him be playing any games with you. You always want to be standing up for yourself and you want to show him that you deserve the best. Number 3, protect your energy. Your aura and the energy you give off is what determines whether people like you or not. So you need to protect this at all costs by staying active, being healthy, keeping your friend group small and close. Your aura is constantly being exuded onto other people, so you always want to make sure that it is top tier. Number 4 is confidence. This kind of falls into number 2, but confidence is so sexy. You can build confidence by working on yourself, by going to the gym, working on your career, just kind of leveling up and making you the best version of yourself. And if you don't have it, fake it, because men won't know the difference anyways. The thing is, men are intimidated by women that are confident, and that is a big turn on to them. Number 5, actively listen when he speaks. Good listeners are actually hard to come by, so if you actively are showing that you're listening, it's gonna make him feel heard and want you. And number 6, don't be available all the time. A woman that is busy to a man is so attractive. Men literally hate it when women are super clingy. Needs to be fully aware that your time is valuable. Especially don't always be available for the late night booty calls. Let me know if you guys want part 2 to this. And this is the final makeup look. Love you guys.
Gotcha, bitch.
Have you ever noticed that these life coaches give advice on what men like in a woman in the same way they describe what they look for in a man? Their description leans more towards turning you into a successful man rather than something that actually attracts a man. Hygiene should be basic for everyone. No one wants someone unhygienic. And that super confident, empowered woman focused on her career is honestly the least attractive to a man. That type of woman just makes you feel like she has another man ahead. Men look for warmth, a woman with a beautiful smile, who can hold a conversation, who listens to him, who is attentive. Above all, what men like most is a woman who knows how to appreciate the little things a man does, who notices the small details he does for her, who pays attention to him, and shows interest. Disinterest is boring for a man. If you don't show interest, following this advice of not seeking him, not calling him, not doing anything for him, will only lead to failure with a man. Remember, warmth, appreciating the small things your man does, and showing genuine interest. It's not that hard. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. Why do you think women find it so hard to understand men? Has a woman ever tried to put you in the friend zone? How did you react? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from the wall.